Our next guest is Ingrid Collins, Associate State Director for AARP in Central Florida, to talk about various hurricane preparedness resources. And welcome, Ingrid. AARP, everybody's familiar with your group, but you as the community director, what exactly does that mean and how does it fit into our hurricane preparedness program?
My job is to work in the community. I work with a group of volunteers, and we really endeavor to share information and resources and make sure that our community is happy and healthy and whole. We want to make sure that people can access the information that is available because there's quite a bit. AARP has a wealth of resources online. We have documents, we have videos, and we're here to talk about disaster preparedness.
Really, because if you think about it, you know, here we are in Florida.
Yes.
Knock on wood, we've been pretty lucky for a while, but we always kind of think about this could be it. We're surrounded by water, even right here in Central Florida. We're not necessarily on the coast, but if anybody remembers Charlie, Francis, and Jean a few years ago, they know that's where we need these programs and these resources.
And yes, my own home was affected. So we have areas that maybe in the past had not been traditionally affected, and all of a sudden, then they were. So you can't rely on that. We have, you know, inland areas in Central Florida that may be affected. So what we want to do is get the message out that it is important to be prepared, to plan ahead, that just because something never has happened doesn't mean it never would in the future.
Oh, absolutely. And you mentioned that, the importance of a disaster plan.
Yes.
And we always hear that. Well, how does AARP kind of nudge us along in getting that disaster plan in place?
Yes, so we want people to have a plan to make sure that you have your paperwork in order. Make sure that you have your checklist. Make sure that you think about what happens before, during, and after a storm. Because before a storm, it's do I stay or do I go? Sometimes the choice is up to you. You might choose to go. Maybe you have, you know, a pet. Maybe you have special needs. You have to know what are the resources in your community. What are the shelters? Sometimes you have to pre-register if you have a pet, for example, or if you have special needs, if you have medical devices that are important to you and to your health and well-being. Maybe you choose to go. You have to let someone know where you're going.
Absolutely.
So that they know where to
and
find
you know,
you.
AARP is real. I was amazed when I knew I was going to be chatting with you. You have so many great videos that just walk us through that. And I know a lot of times, you know, we don't take the time to read something, but if we see it on a video, that really makes a difference.
Yes, yes. And some of our videos cover things like generator safety. And that is so critical because you can't just store a generator everywhere or anywhere. What do you do with the gas? Should you keep the gas in it, or if you're going to store it separately, how do you do that? Those kinds of things. What about contractor safety?
Yes. In fact, well, we're going to have one of those videos right now to show folks just a little bit of information for that.
Great.
Hurricanes can cause life and property threatening hazards, such as high winds, tornadoes, flooding, and storm surge. The most important precaution you can take to reduce damage to your home and property is to protect it from wind damage by strengthening and reinforcing roofs, windows, doors, and garage doors. Clear your home of exterior clutter and debris that high winds can turn into projectiles and cause structural damage. Trim back shrubs and any branches touching your home since they could cause damage in a storm. Keeping trees well pruned will allow wind to pass through with minimal damage and debris. Make sure hurricane shutters are in working condition and get any repairs done well in advance of hurricane season. Pay attention to weather advisories and remember that the path of a hurricane can change quickly and unexpectedly. Know the difference between these two advisories. Hurricane watch. Hurricane conditions are a threat within 48 hours. Review plans, stay informed, and be ready if a warning is issued. Hurricane warning. Hurricane conditions are expected within 36 hours. complete storm preparations, and leave the area if directed to do so. The best way to protect your family from the effects of a disaster is to prepare your home and have a disaster plan. Make sure others know about your plans and how to reach you, whether you shelter at home or have to evacuate. Please watch our other disaster preparedness videos covering various topics of importance.
And Ingrid, I love watching a video, just something to give me the information. I can play it over and over again. And these are really great information.
They really are. And I agree with you that sometimes a quick video even reminds you and prompts you of things that maybe you hadn't thought of. And one good example of that is medications. You know, sometimes you might think, I'm going to hunker down, as our, forecasters like
love that
to say.
term.
I do. I use it all the time. And so if you think about that, assuming that our emergency managers haven't told us to evacuate, which you should absolutely heed those instructions. But if you're choosing to stay at home and you need medication, what if your pharmacy closes? How much medication do you need for several weeks at home? You need to plan ahead for things like that. So those kinds of tips and tricks are available there.
And so we've gotten a lot of information already, and folks can, of course, check with AARP and see all of those great video resources. Any last few #1 tips for if there is a disaster looming?
Well, even if there's not, right? Our main instruction is have a plan, right? Have a plan to stay, have a plan to go. No matter what, you should always have a plan. And those plans include, if you're going to stay, have things with you, make sure you're checking your list, make sure you're checking your bags. If you have a bag at home, check it every year. Things perish, things are expired. Make sure you're checking your phone numbers, your contact information, your documents. If you're planning to go somewhere, let somebody know where you're going, and just check it every year, because things change and we want to make sure that everyone is safe. That is #1.
Absolutely. And remember to visit AARP's dedicated disaster page for resources and educational videos at aarp.org/Florida/Florida Disaster Help, or FL Disaster Help. And let's all stay safe. Such great information. Thanks, Ingrid.
Thank you.